Yo, what's up? Welcome to our fourth part of Klangkünstler tutorial series where we recreate the Weltschmerz track. In earlier videos we have created the bass sound, the percussion, the distorted crunchy hi-hats and the main lead sound. If there is something which is missing from the Klangkünstler style, then definitely it's the Reese bass, which today we will create in Serum Synthesizer. I will show you not only how to set up all the oscillators, you will also see how you can give your Reese bass different flavors with a single filter and how to make your bass sound full with the simplest white noise sample. If this sounds interesting to you, then stay tuned because watching this video will be your next step towards becoming a better hard techno producer. My name is Marcin, I put out sound design tutorials every second Sunday. I mainly recreate tracks which are suggested by you and made by professional producers. If you don't want to miss such videos, then subscribe to my channel. On top of that, if my YouTube channel is not enough, contact me for private music production lessons, which will give you a whole lot of new knowledge. Are you ready? Let's start the work. As always, I will start off with creating a new MIDI channel, where we will throw the Serum synthesizer. The default patch is loaded with a sawtooth wave. Before we start tweaking the patch, I will create the bassline. For this bassline, we will need 4 bars long MIDI clip. Now I can stretch this MIDI clip. Knowing the key and scale, I can now use the scale functionality in Ableton, which is going to highlight me the notes from the major scale. Now I can start writing the melody. This sounds a bit too high. I will press now the shift and down arrow keys. I can start tweaking the patch. Instead of a sawtooth wave, I'm going to pick a shape similar to a rectangle or square wave, because such waves have even more harmonic content inside. There are numerous types of square wave wavetables inside of the analog category. Among all of these, I will pick the BWM MDC wavetable. After adjusting the wavetable position, which is the first step towards fine-tuning the sound of our oscillator, I'm going to use the unison functionality, which makes this oscillator produce more than a single square wave. Each of these square waves has a slightly different pitch. To change the difference in pitch between these unison voices, use the detune control. The blend control can adjust the volume of these individual unison voices. If you want to fine-tune the sound coming from this oscillator, we can use the warping section. And for example, I will pick the bend minus warping mode. Before we engage a second oscillator to fill our sound even more, I'm going first to increase the unison control even more. The last thing we will do is we are going to fine-tune the pitch of this first oscillator. Most of the times, a single oscillator is not enough to create a rich bass sound, even if we use the unison functionality. I will add now the oscillator B. Let's load a square wave for the second time. Now I will use the basic shapes wavetable. This oscillator will also benefit from the unison functionality. The sound coming from the second oscillator fills the bass nicely, but I would like to add some more low end. Besides fine-tuning the pitch of this oscillator, I will also drop the pitch of this square wave by an octave. We can fine-tune the sound coming from this oscillator. I will use the warping section for the second time, but now I'm going to select the ring modulation coming from the oscillator A. The sound from the oscillator B is going to be influenced directly by the oscillator A. The last thing is adjusting the volume of the oscillator B. Let's enable the noise oscillator and crank the level control so we can hear the noise very loud. I will pick a suitable noise sound now. I'm going to adjust the pitch of this noise and then I will turn down the level. Now I want to use a filter. I will route the sound from all the oscillators, including the noise oscillator. I will pick a different kind of filter. My most favorite filter types are inside the MISC category. Here I will choose a band reject filter, which is nothing but a single deep cut in the equalizer. I told you we will use the filter section to create various flavors of our bass. This is what is going to happen once you start cutting heavily some of the frequencies from the Reese bass. To create interesting bass lines and rhythms, you can automate this cut-off frequency control. In case of our project, we will set it to a fixed value. The sound coming from this filter will be even more interesting if we add some resonances to the sound. What I mean by that, just look at the filter section. I will increase at first the width parameter, which is going to make our filter even wider. Now I can crank up the resonance control. Look what happens. I'm adding two interesting peaks around the center cut-off frequency. This will be everything regarding the OSC tab. Now I will move to the effects section where I will start adding the effects. The first one will be the hyper dimension, which is a combination of two separate effects. The first one, the hyper, gives a sound similar to the chorus. We want to keep our sound sharp. That is why I will turn down the mix knob completely to 0%, and I will use the dimension effect only. This dimension effect has only two knobs to adjust. This effect works best with short plug melodic synthesizers, but you can experiment with adding this to the bass sounds as well. I will make this Reese bass even sharper and aggressive now with the distortion effect. We will start by cranking the drive control very high so we can hear what does each distortion algorithm do. Some of these algorithms are really too aggressive. We will use something more gentle. I will pick the soft clip distortion style, and now I will add some drive to fry a bit the sound. In the end, I have used the level knob to adjust the output volume of this bass. So the bass volume before and after distortion stays at the same level. Then I can judge what does the distortion do, because I don't want to be fooled by the fact that something sounds better just because it's louder. I want to blur this sound. For this I will use the reverb, which will be put after the distortion, so the reverb is going to smooth out our bass sound. I will increase the mix control so we can hear how does the reverb sound like. I will start adjusting the character of the reverb by tuning the size control, which simulates the, let's say, dimensions of virtual room in which the bass is being played. I don't want to set the reverb very long because it will cause a messy sound. We don't need to concern a lot with the pre-delay control. This one allows you to separate the reverb from the bass sound. But our bass sound is playing all the time. We can leave this pre-delay set to a low value. I want to adjust the frequency content of the reverb. For this I have two different controls, the low cut and high cut. I want my reverb to sound bright. That is why I have turned down the high cut control down to pass through more high frequencies. Also, I don't want to mix low frequencies coming from the reverb with the low frequencies coming from the raw bass sound. This could make my sound more muddy, less precise. The damp control can also indirectly control the amount of high frequencies in the reverb. The width knob sets the stereo width of our bass. Because the beat which I already created sounds very powerful and is very dense, I don't want to create a big mess by adding a rebass which is very wide. At last I can turn down the mix control to blend the reverb with the bass. The last effect I want to use is the equalizer, where I'm going to boost some lower frequency to make my bass sound even fatter. Let's launch the frequency spectrum analyzer to isolate some of the lower frequencies. That way we can judge what could we boost in the equalizer. The frequency of 140 Hz sounds fat. I would like to have this frequency louder in my own bass sound. Let's pick a bell filter and set the frequency we are interested in boosting. After that, I want to set the gain value first. After you find your desired gain amount, you might want to fine-tune the sound of the equalizer by adjusting the Q value, which can alter the shape of the filter. Low Q values will boost more frequencies around the cut-off frequency, which can make sometimes the sound even warmer. While narrow Q values are used more often when you want to emphasize or cut certain resonances or narrow frequency ranges. Let's visit the Global tab. Here we can say how wide the unison spread is going to be. I will set the width to 25 in both oscillators because I want to keep my bass narrow. Now I will use two external effects to improve the sound of this bass even more. If you like this video so far, please hit the thumbs up button and share this video with your friends so they can learn more. I will use some external distortion plugin at first. Lots of distortion plugins are going to have their own character. It's a matter of the experience and your knowledge. When it comes to the plugin choice, I will use the Audio Assault Head Crusher 3, which can give you a warm sound right off the bat. This plugin, even with the initial settings, gives us a right character for the sound. I don't need to use lots of drive because that could over-distort my bass sound. I will use just a tiny amount of it. The tone control can emphasize a certain frequency range. Now in the middle position, this control acts rather neutral. If I want to make my bass even heavier, I can bring the tone control down. I don't want to overdo this because my bass sound will be too bloated then. The last thing I use is the low cut control, which is going to remove some of the lowest frequencies from this bass, because I don't want to mix the low frequencies coming from this bass with the low frequencies coming from the bass line I have created in the second part of my tutorial. In the original track, the higher notes in the bass line are much brighter than the lower parts of the bass line. I want to make this part of a bass line brighter. A while ago I have added the Audio Assault Head Crusher, which made my bass line sound even warmer. I will throw an automation which is going to turn off this effect when I have higher notes in the bass line playing. On top of that, I can create another automation. I will automate the pitch of the oscillator B. Now, with this automation, when higher parts of the bassline are playing, the oscillator B is going to be transposed by an octave. Listen to the bass and look how does the oscillator B behave. The last thing will be the equalizer. In the equalizer, I want to boost some of the mid frequencies to fill the sound of the bass even more. Our bass sound could benefit by boosting this frequency range. In the equalizer, I have picked the frequency of 500 Hz, which is boosted by 3 decibels. This is enough to fill the bass with some extra mid frequencies. As you see, I have set the Q value a bit low. That is because I want to boost a wide range of frequencies. This is going to sound more natural than a high Q value, which could boost only a very narrow range of mid frequencies. The last thing will be adjusting the volume of this bass inside the Serum synthesizer by using the master knob. And this will be everything regarding today's video. Is it the last video in our Clank & Slur video series? I'm not sure yet. Maybe I will create a 5th spot which will be focused on mixing down this beat. In future I will want to focus more on Serum synthesizer tutorials. If you enjoyed this video, again, please hit the thumbs up button and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, see you next time.